just done some incredible works, and we're here just having such a nice conversation with them. It's so nice to have you, and thank you for sharing all these stories with us. I'm sure everybody's enjoying it at home as well. Besides writing about crime, you're also a restaurant critic. How does this fall into your life?
I've always loved eating out in restaurants and food, and my character Roy Grace, Detective Superintendent Roy Grace, who is the kind of central character, I have him kind of a little bit interested in food. And his girlfriend sort of fancies herself as a cook, but she's not that great. But I just love it. I travel so much, and I like the ambience of restaurants. I think restaurants are not anything about food as much as people think. They're much more about, I think, friendship, meeting friends, catching out with people. Yeah. And I just love the whole kind of world of restaurants. At all ends of the scale. Yeah, it is. It's an incredible world. Another world that you love is you're a self-confessed petrol head. You love cars. I mean, you've got every car under the sun, it seems. Yeah, and I should have been here last year for the bloody book week, but I rolled my race a 1965 BMW, and I rolled it 4 times at 90 miles an hour in a race at Brands Hatch in England. So, what are we looking at you in here? Which car is this? Oh, that was, I was asked to drive that Bewley. It's part of the collection at the Motor Museum in Bewley. Oh, really? But I love, everything. From the time I was a kid, I had my first accident when I was 4, when my dad had gone to visit some friends to drop some Christmas presents, and I sat on a farm, and he got inside, and I sat in the car, and I released the handbrake, and it went into a duck pond. Oh, no. And I sat there with water over the bonnet, wondering if he'd noticed when he came back out. and somehow I have the feeling that he did. Now, I want to take you back many, many years, because you actually, you were Orson Welles' housekeeper. You cleaned his house. I mean, that must have been an experience for you, second to none. Yeah, I was at film school, and my parents gave me enough money to get the bus and train fare to college and to pay for my rent and to eat. But there was this very posh girl that I wanted to take out. I met her at a party. She was what they call a debutante. They were kind of came from a very upmarket family. So I wanted to take her out to a nice restaurant, and I didn't have enough money. And I saw a sign in a newspaper shop, newsagent window. It said, "Cleaner wanted, 10 shillings an hour, apply Mrs. Wells." And it was just around the corner. I was living just on the sort of cusp of Chelsea and Fulham at that time. And I went to this nice, it wasn't a grand house, it was a terraced house, and this smart woman opened the door, and she said, "Well, I was really expecting a female to turn up." I said, I can clean, honest. And she said, "Well, I'll give you a go." She said, I'll try you 3 hours this morning, and I'll pay for those 3 hours." And she took me in the kitchen, and she said, "Could you clean the kitchen?" Yeah. Now, it may sound ridiculous, but I'd actually hardly ever been in a kitchen in my life. Both my parents worked. My mum was made the Queen's gloves, and they had that. In those days, we had a full-time cook, and she didn't like me going in the kitchen. But I'd seen television adverts for a product called Flash, all around the house, spring clean with Flash, and I found a packet of Flash in the kitchen and a bucket. So I got the Flash, poured it in the bucket, and I found a squeegee, and I cleaned the floor. And she came in, and she was really impressed, and she said, "Okay, I'll take you on for a month's trial." And it was 3 mornings a week, so the next day I turned up, and she wanted me to clean the skirting board in the hall. And I was on my knees in the hall, and suddenly all these letters came through the letterbox addressed to Orson Welles. Oh my gosh. And I'm not always the sharpest tack in the box. Yeah. So I thought, why have these letters come from Mr. Orson Welles? And I didn't connect, I was working for Mrs. Welles. Yes. And suddenly the door opened, and in walked the great man. Wow. And there were a million things I wanted to ask him. Like, I'm at film school, I'm studying to try and get in the movie and television business. And I look at him and I go, there's Orson Welles standing in front of you. Yeah, and he goes, "Good morning." And he stepped over me and I went upstairs and shut the door. And that was it? That was the next day. He'd flown to America, and I'd lost my chance. Oh, no. My job lasted a month, and then she very sweetly, she said, "I just don't think you're qualified enough for this job." Well, you went on to greater things. That's good to know. Peter, I wish I could continue. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming and talking to us. Good luck with your latest novel. It's out in South Africa, and it's well worth a read. And it's just something, Want You Dead. That's what it's called. So get it.
and enjoy the adventure that you take us on through that book. Thank you very much for being on guest.
Thank you, Leanne, so much.
All right. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll have the news at 7 with Ayanda. Stay tuned.